Hi, Tea Society. Welcome back to the Antisocial Planet. Today we are checking out ITZY's Guess Who album part 2. We got 2 songs left. I know it's a bit of a weird cut between things, but you know what? Unedited, the last part ended up being an hour long, so this is why I was breaking it up. But I'm excited to see where we go with the last couple of songs in this, because so far I've been doing a little bit of a lot of different things, and it's definitely been interesting to see how they're playing with the character of their voices in this album. Shoot, which I feel like sounds familiar. Did they do it maybe in Killing Voice? I just feel like there's a part of my brain that's, is this one of the songs where I was like, oh, I think I know this one? Because again, as I said in the last part, this is definitely an era where ITZY was like getting some traction in their songs. And I remember like hearing like bits and pieces of like hooks and things from their songs. So I feel like maybe I have heard one of these, just for like transparency's sake. Yeah. Yeah, no, immediately I'm like, from the edits.
Check my look. 걸으면 like a dance. 좀 더 강하게 choose 빨간 shoes. Yeah. No questions what I look. Well, this is what I do. 또각또각 너에게 다가간다. ITZY 주문을 외워 right now.
Ugh, her voice. I couldn't interrupt the drop because it's iconic, right? Because again, not that I know anything about some of the edits that might have been to this song. Look, my TikTok algorithm is between me and God, as it should be. I love like the minimalism that we're getting, and then we have that like huge boom, right, with the shoot. And I love this off-kilter kind of delivery that we're getting with some of the vocals, but it's also helped along by the like post on like the ends of these sentences, right? Like the lines, we get that like auto-tune turned up, and it just adds a little bit of character and like off-kilter feeling to the overall song. I also like that we almost have this like metronome or like ticking noise in this, because it also fits with that, I don't know, there's almost like this like time running out. Or I was even thinking before we got this lyric that's like casting spells, I was like, I'm thinking from the way that like Leah, I think it's Leah again, I feel nervous about saying who's singing and who isn't, because sometimes I'm wrong and then I feel bad because I'm like, I don't want to get anything wrong. And also lyric videos, great assault about who's singing what, but get it, like the melody that we were getting, I'm like, it feels almost like that hypnotic feeling again, pulling from the last song in this album, and having the like spells like with the metronome too. It's almost, I think the metronome, but I also think in like older like clocks, like grandfather clocks, you have the pendulum that swings, which is also the watch, pocket watch kind of hypnotized thing. Am I reaching? Probably, but like you can see the timestamp of this video. You didn't sign up for me not to be chatty. It's fine. Again, adding in those elements, like all of the things layer together to make something between the lyrics and then just the production choices. And again, I love the red shoes. Red is like a bit of a warning color, but it also makes me think of Wizard of Oz, the like ruby slippers where you could make wishes and stuff. And it's also, Dorothy is like a young woman who like chooses like her own kind of journey, right? So I like that we're incorporating in these different elements into the imagery that we're getting, while also just having this really like fun delivery. And again, the post on their vocals, like very selective in like where it's ramping up, and I think that it just adds like a really fun character to the song. Also, I love that this song was all over the place and it's buried in the middle of this album. Like, how iconic do you have to be for that to happen, right?
Well, this is what I do. 또각또각 너에게 다가간다. ITZY 주문을 외워 right now.
Her voice though. Little Adams. Ooh. Well, there's so much fun. I think like the bass line is fun in this too. Again, like something bassy, it feels very grounded. If there's like an attitude, I feel like having a heavy bass line like this and almost like this like slower beat, like the way that they're singing is slower too, like the melodies, right? Even the like elongation at the end of all those phrases where like you do, right? Like we're getting all of that where it's like, it's really elongating out this song, even though what do you mean not even 3 minutes long? But I digress. You know, like the melodies are very like drawn out. There's this feeling of like confidence and like I don't need to rush into anything because I think we all know what's going to happen. Right? I think we all know how this is going to turn out. But I love the like repetition that we're getting, even like the shoot, right? Like the elongation of these like long vowels that we're getting. So many like fun lyrics, and I love that we're like passing it off. I love the butterfly and heartfly, right? Having those two things, like those two images. Again, translations are going to be what they are, I understand. But like the concept of butterfly transformation, right? Coming into like, a different form of yourself, and then also make someone's like heart flutter, right? So like the fluttering of wings, but then also like a heart flutter of I'm going to leave an impression. So I love that imagery. I hate obvious things. I feel like we've gotten something similar to that concept in previous things, especially with like Origin, right? Maybe even on this album too, of just saying I don't want to do the obvious thing, right? I want to do something that is off kilter. I want to do something that is in my own lane as opposed to just following what everyone else is doing. It's like with Wild Wild West, where it was like, why do I have to adhere to these laws? Who says that's the way it has to be done? And it's, I'm not going to do the obvious, watch what I do, right? See what I can do. I want to stretch outside of my comfort zone, right? I want to reach for things that people tell me I can't have, because it's like, how do you know that? I don't know that. And if anyone's going to know what I'm capable of, it's me. So I might as well try. If I make a mistake and I learn from that, then cool, I can move on to the next thing. And it's just, I love how we're like rapidly switching between people too. I think it's just really fun. Again, with like a slower melody, you're not having things like slow down too much, right? Like you're keeping some of the pace that comes along with ITZY songs. And I'm also thinking like performance wise, I don't know if there's choreography to this one, but if you're going to be performing, even just singing it live, right? That in terms of like time that someone's going to be center, I think it's really clever to have them like switching between like lines between the members, because that means that you can have a lot of motion in terms of the performance without having to speed up the choreography in a way that like doesn't fit what's going on, or even just like improvising on stage. You don't want to put a bunch of energy that you would for some other more like hype songs into this one. It wouldn't fit with the like tone and like character of it. So I like that we're like switching between them, because it circumvents some of those issues while also just being like fun. And again, like this collective feeling of them all working towards the same thing and like being in agreement of them like trying new things and being a little bit daring. I also love the blow my mind, or I don't know all of the translations, but like this idea of blowing someone's mind, but we're also getting shoot, right? So like a bit of a gory imagery, but I guess if we're going to say I'm the mafia, then I guess we're going to be leading into some of that. But I like that we're playing off of like the multiple meanings that words can have and like phrases can have. But there was also the one with the kaboom one, fun, just like their delivery of that, but also like I was saying before, like a metronome or this almost like ticking sound. I love that we're getting the kaboom like a, you're like setting like a bomb or a trap or whatever, right? I think that's really fun too, and leads into some of the other stuff that they've talked about, and even on this album of like the like rose and thorns, right? I might look like a rose, but I have thorns and I can fight back. So I think that it's really fun, just again, like the way that we're constructing all of the imagery and stuff. I'm going to move on though, because I feel like I've been chatting for too long. I get a little bit self-conscious. I do want to listen to the song. Like we could just go back and we can listen to the drop again. That's really fun too. No. There's a fun little pause in there too. The bass. Whoa, like I love the way that they're putting in like pauses in this, right? Where like we have some more of the like kind of heavy like bass synth instrumentation parts coming in, and then there's like the intentional like little pauses of, again, little things to add in interest, to re-grab attention for a song where there's not a whole lot going on production wise, or even like vocally. Like they're not doing like some of the craziest vocals that I've heard from them. It's all about the attitude and like character that they're bringing to the performance, and I feel like it works really well for this, because again, it has that laid back feeling of I don't even need to try, I don't need to put in like a bunch of effort, I'm just like doing things that I think are fun and that fit with who I am. I'm not like trying and like nervous about what other people are going to think of me. So I think it fits really well with that, but having some of those little pauses to re-grab that attention. Love like some of the like repetition of sounds, even like some of the onomatopoeias that we're getting going through the chorus of the end phrase, like move and kaboom and you and all of that, right? Like those like long vowels that we're getting repeated over and over again. Just having a lot of fun with those. And I think that it's a great way of, I don't know, like I feel like there's a way that it could be too repetitive, but I feel like because they're bringing so much character to it, and we're getting like little post things on the vocals, and we're getting like little melodies and some of the little ad libs like buried in the back, it's just making it like fun each time. I'm like, how are we going to play with that vowel each time? What rhyme scheme are we going to do this time? So I think that it's really fun to see how that's like all coming together. Look at my eyes, right? That's a diphthong, but we don't need to get into all of it. Okay, I don't need to, the linguist brain doesn't need to be part of this entirely, but it's a little bit of a shorter vowel. And we got some of those e, I sounds. Even yeah is like a little bit of a shorter vowel that we're playing with, as opposed to those ooh sounds. So I think that it's a fun way of cutting up some of the sounds in between those rhymes that we're playing with.
Boy, you gotta move. Make a dream, no one not pretty cool. 누가 봐도 단 하나의 길밖에 없는 걸. 결국 네가 갈 길은 여기 하나뿐인 걸. 빨리 와
Nam.
그냥 지나가던가. Don't be silly, babe. Don't break my heart. 써버려 shoe.
Oh, I love the little hum into that too. That's so good, of just a little like, yeah, I know. I've read You Lego Book. I know exactly what's going on. I need Rijin to stop doing the drag on her vocals or like vocal fry or whatever. It's just for personal reasons. I'm going to need her to not perform like that. It's a lot for me to deal with, okay? I know I'm the problem. I get it. But it's just, and she'll put like a little bit of a laugh into her voice, and I'm gonna listen to it again. I'm gonna struggle anyway. But I love, again, this idea of show me your heart, right? I don't want to know like the surface level. I'm not trying to understand like the persona that you're presenting. I want to actually know who you are. And I think that's fun too. The concept of not just wanting to get to know someone, and they've talked about that. The previous songs where it was almost this like fighting back against people treating you unfairly or like being rude or like having to stand your ground a little bit. And this one feels more of like, I can see through you. Like I know who you are. And I feel like some of this is leaning into like more of a like love romantic kind of thing as well, because there are lots of songs that have the romantic lean to them, but it's also seeing through someone and like seeing them for who they are and like wanting to know the actual like genuine who they are person. And it's, I don't want all the noise, right? I don't want all of the extra of what do people expect of like you or of me. I want us to forget all of that and actually going with shoot. I want you to shoot your shot. I was also thinking with shoot, and again, I don't know how well this translates to like other languages and cultures and stuff, but we also say shoot is like a way of censoring ourselves. Certain cuss word in English, but it's if something goes wrong, you say shoot, but it's not like a big deal. It's like if something like inconvenience happens. Again, the way that they're leaning into like lots of different ways that you can interpret different like imagery and right, and just layering it on top of each other. It's like there's the kind of shoot your shot imagery, and again, I don't know how well that translates to other languages, but also blow your mind, talking about that and saying like this could be something way better than like you think, like instead of leaning into the mundane, it could be something like incredible that feels like this kind of like shock to the system. And then also, so what if it ends up being like a mistake? So what if it doesn't work out? It'll be like a minor inconvenience, and then we can just be like, oh shoot, move on. It doesn't have to be like a big deal, but like we won't know if it's gonna be a big deal or if it's just gonna be like a tiny like mistake that we can move on from if we don't like actually communicate and be honest with each other. So I love all of that coming through. It's a lot. I think we're getting layered vocals too. Whoa! Not to interrupt, but the like synth coming in with like a guitar. Wild. That's fun. And like soft.
That's what I do. I know that's like a fool, yeah, but that's what I do.
Ooh. One, I love the like softer delivery that we got. And again, like fun with the like la la la's, right? It's almost living in like a daydream a little bit too. And then we got all the way to talking, right? Like definitely had that delivery. And I think that's so much fun too, to go from like these vocals that like obviously like singing the melodies, but then we're also getting those moments where they're like turning up some of the post to have some fun with those vocals, and then having some like layers into it as well. There's a lot of like electronic sounds in this, and then to basically like dial back to almost like a raw vocal to the point of just like a speaking voice, I think is also like really fun. Just like playing around with those sounds, I feel like it's again going to that, hey, I don't want to deal with all of the like showiness that comes with people like wanting to present themselves like the best way. I want to know your heart. And I think that having a very raw sounding vocal, almost like conversational, right, speaking at the end, is forget all of the other stuff. I just want to like be honest. I just want to present an honest part of myself, and I want you to be honest with me too. And let's just forget about all of the other like expectations or noise or like what other people have said. I don't care what other people have said about who you are. I want you to tell me who you are, right? I want to see it with my own eyes. I want you to look me in the eyes, and I want to figure it out for myself. So I think that's also just like fun to have that shift there at the end. Really fun song. I can see why. I knew it was catchy anyway, because I was like, I heard the trends, right? I was there in the moment. So like to have the like edits on those, the end of the lines and everything, definitely very much helped with promoting the song, but it's also just really catchy. And I feel like even though I'm like, it's a shorter song, I could also understand it with something like this, because would I have wanted a whole bridge and another chorus? Yeah, I wouldn't have been upset about that. But I feel like if you were going to shorten a song, I can understand why it would be with something like this, because I feel like there's a density to the way that they're presenting the idea that they're going for in like the previous like verses and lines and everything. And I also feel there's only so long that you can play around with the format of this song, right? Like I was saying, we have those repeated ooh vowel words right at the end of these phrases, and there's only so many times that you can play around with that before it becomes too repetitive or you're losing the core of what you're trying to talk about, right? Because you're dealing with the constraint of that. So I can understand to some extent, again, would have loved to bridge another chorus anyway, but I do really like the way that they ended that song. Super fun. Like again, for a viral song, I'm not always ready for it to be something that I'm like, I have so many ideas about, and I just never thought about any of them when I heard the song in a tiny snippet for an edit or something. So it's always really fun to like finally know the context. I know the whole thing now. Last one, tennis slash 0-0. Look, I don't know a lot about tennis, so I don't really know where we're going with this one, but I'm assuming it's like we're tied, evenly matched. Don't you? Is it a volley? Again, I don't know tennis, but you hit the ball back, right? There's been a lot of back and forth vibes of this album, right? Of again, like standing your ground, people saying things and you having something to say back, like speaking up for yourself. Even with Shoot, which where it's a little bit more, I think, in like a positive lean, is I'm gonna be authentic, so I want you to be authentic back. It's like meeting each other on like an even playing field, for better or for worse. So maybe some of that, I have no idea. We're gonna find out. Ma'am, are y'all gonna make me cry? Match boy. Look, I don't want to interrupt, but I love that we're getting like the just like acoustic guitar. I love that we're getting beautiful vocals, right? Already. I love the like fast pass off at the end, almost like little roll call before we get into the full song. And I love that we're getting some lower range in their vocals as well, right? Because I feel like we're gonna get to some stuff probably as this ramps up as a song. But just like the imagery that we're already getting, talking before about how I was saying like someone who's like evenly matched, but it's almost like this back and forth. And I said a little bit of that right before the song, but also like just in this album in general, it has this feeling of like exhaustion of like, we're doing the same thing again. And I don't want to do the same thing, right? I want to be different. I want to be innovating. I want to be continuing to push myself. And to have 0-0 to be a score means like nobody got a score, right? Nobody actually managed to do anything. So I think that they're playing off of that if no one wants to make the next move, right, in the lyrics. But also this, we just keep passing back and forth. We just keep doing the same thing and no one's willing to like take a risk and break this like back and forth that's happening. And it seems, I don't know exactly like in what context, but I think it's interesting, you know, that there's already been themes of that throughout this album of I feel like we're stuck in this like almost like limbo of I'm not willing to give up, but like also you're not willing to give up, and we're evenly matched and we're just stubbornly stuck in the same place, and I don't want to do the same thing over and over again. So I think it's just interesting to flip that into something that's a little bit more ballad and see where we're going to go with it. Beautiful little vibrato there. Beautiful. Oh, you gave me a vocal slide. Some really fun melodies, and again like really being able to stretch like the vocals of this group. I continue every time I get a song like this, even though I'm not a big like ballad sentimental kind of person, just every time I get one of those moments from ITZY, I'm just like, God, all of their tones are so beautiful and I love them for like completely different reasons. And I think that's wonderful. Like they have so many like different vibes to their voices, and that happens a lot in like K-pop or like putting a group together, because that's how you get a bunch of like different like diversity and like the sounds that you can play around with when you're putting together a group. But it's so nice to hear like their beautiful voices where I can just like really clearly hear their tones. And then I also know that they can do like these beautiful harmony moments where like their voices like blend really nicely together. So it just makes me happy. As a fan of like music and like vocals, I'm just having a moment where I'm just like, ooh, I like all of these melodies. I was also thinking, I'm thinking of like we're hitting the ball back and forth and neither of us is actually doing anything, but also them talking about not making the first move is, oh, no one's served yet. The little bit of tennis knowledge I know is that someone has to hit the ball first, and it seems like neither of us is doing that, which is why it's like a score of 0-0. Neither of us is even daring to take a chance at might be able to score a point. Neither of us is even willing to like try that, and that's why we're not going anywhere. And I love that we're getting these like beautiful little moments like here at these sounds with Yeji's part of like really playing around with the melodies of that. I think that it's so pretty. I don't even know where I want to go back to. Taeyang, your voice is so pretty. It's so beautiful. Even this like one sentence, right? If I could just say one thing, it could probably change everything, right? Someone would be making some kind of move, some kind of effort, and it would change things, right? And this like up and down of melodies, right? The little ad-libs. I love that melody up too. Even like the smashing is like more of an aggressive move. Oof, beautiful little vocal there. Ooh, the way that they're layering up like the imagery, and again, this is out of my wheelhouse. We go into like sports and stuff. But I'm also thinking the idea of being like this kind of like bouncing ball. I don't really know where the ball is going to bounce off to, but that's okay. Like I'm okay with kind of meandering or even like rolling, right? Is like still moving and having that like momentum of going forward instead of being still, right? So much of ITZY's music and lyrics is I don't want to do the same thing. I don't want to be stuck in place. I don't want to just sit here and wait for the world to change around me. At least if I'm bouncing around, at least I'm doing something, right? Like at least I'm trying things. At least I'm like, I feel like I'm doing something, right? And saying it's fine. But I'm also thinking if we're talking about some like person that we're narrating towards, right? An intended like audience or recipient of the song. I'm also thinking like intended, you're like opponents, right? Like you're playing against each other. Talking about like being separated by the net, like we're looking at each other, the tiki-taki, the like thinking of the hitting back and forth with the like ball. So I like having that sound in there. But it's like this idea of playing against each other. And it almost makes you feel like you pretend not to. Pretending, we talked about like personas or like putting up like a facade of who you are and it's not really who you are. Wanting to know someone's heart as opposed to who they're putting forth like publicly or whatever. It almost makes me think of why are we opponents? Like why are we against each other? Why are we on like opposite sides of the net? Right? Like why are we in competition? It almost has that exhausted, there's a little bit of a current of hope in it, right? Like both of them, like this won't continue and that there's going to be a moment in which someone does step, like they said, cross over the line or serve the ball, like the game gets started in a way. But it's also like, why are we playing against each other? Right? Like, why are we competing? Why are we on opposite sides of this? Did it start already like this idea of I didn't even know that I was supposed to be in competition, right? Like I didn't even know that we were supposed to be opponents of each other when like we could just get along. So it almost has that feeling. Like I think with something that's like a ballad, usually at the end of a K-pop album, we usually get into like fandom related things. But I almost feel like within the context of this album, it's like going back to people who've had like different things to say to them. And I've talked about it from the perspective of like online, like people who like don't even know them in person, like having all these judgments and opinions and stuff, just like public scrutiny. It can also be like within the industry of people being like, hey, don't do that. Don't behave like that. Don't put out music like that. And even like them being like a young group of women, like there's a whole other layer of there having like being certain expectations of who they're supposed to be and how they're supposed to act. And they've talked about, I've already told you to like not talk to me like that. I've already told you not to treat me like that. Like I've already said stop, and I don't know like how else to be more clear about how we can't keep doing this. And it almost feels with Shoot of being like, I want to see your heart. I want to know who you are. I want to be genuine. I want you to be genuine. I want us to meet each other of like actually being genuine. And if we were, right, going to this, it's would we be competing? What are we competing about? Why are we against each other? Why are we like passing back and forth? I don't know if it's volleys in this, but what we talk like rally or whatever. I don't know. I don't know tennis, but why are we having this back and forth where like I hit it back to you, you hit it back to me? Or could we like try something else? Could we like not compete with each other? Like, why are we even stuck in this? Because I didn't know that we were supposed to be competing. And I think that that really goes back to some of the commentary of I was interpreting when it came to like online discourse. It's you don't have to listen to their music. You don't have to watch their stuff. And even if like you do come across their music or their stuff, like you don't have to comment about it. I feel like people haven't quite gotten the filter, and obviously generalization. I feel like there's some people out there where it's like you don't have to share every thought that you have in a comment section. Just because you have an opinion doesn't mean you have to tell people about it. Not like that you can't have an opinion, right? Obviously you can feel a certain way about something, but then there's like the discretion of, is it appropriate for me to share that opinion, right? Just because I have a thought or a feeling, like where's the appropriate place for me to express that? What is an appropriate way for me to express that? Is there like a constructive way as opposed to just me being like, I don't like this. Why are we fighting? Like, why are we against each other? Why are we on opposite sides of this net with this like separation between us? I didn't even know that we were supposed to be like against each other. Like, when did that happen? And why is that happening? So I feel like that maybe is some of the stuff that we're going with too. And like we both end up losing. Like neither of us gain from this like back and forth, right? Like the score is going to be 0-0 because neither of us is like going to benefit from continuing to just like, I'm like the immovable object and you're like the unstoppable force, it feels. And we're just stuck in this weird paradox, right? It's like if I could say the right thing, it would change.
마주친 순간 좋은 타이밍 손을 넘어 난 이쯤에서 멈춰볼까 손을 넘어 Here I go smashing smashing 놀라지 마 That's right
Ooh, okay, I know I'm interrupting, but I also was thinking with the cross the line, I was thinking like to actually get something started, and it could be like multiple things, right? There could be like this like metaphor of tennis, there could be like an actual game of like back and forth happening, there could be like an actual like stalemate kind of thing happening as well. Obviously we could talk about like multiple different things of like how they could be interpreting this. Even starting something for them could be like, hey, can we start like something else that like makes sense, that is like productive, where like actually like score points and stuff, right? Can we try a different game? And even like crossing the line, I'm thinking there are multiple different lines on a tennis court, right? And primarily there's like the center one, and it almost gives me the image of like walking up to the net, right? Like walking up to the like line and like shaking hands is almost like a truce, right? It's like I want to pick the right thing to say that will like get to like your heart. Like I want to know who you actually are, right? We're getting that heart imagery again of I don't want the noise, I don't want the like outside kind of opinions that influence how you present yourself. I want to know who you are. And then I want to know like the right thing to say that's like actually going to get to the heart of who you are and will actually change things, right? That we can have some kind of truce, that we can have some kind of like peace amidst all of this. Even like the don't be surprised. Like, don't be surprised that I don't want to continue, I guess, to be the bad guy in your story, or like to be like the person that you're like competing with. It doesn't have to be a competition. We can just do different things. Like we can just want different things. We can just make different things. We can just be like parallel journeys. We don't have to be facing off with each other, right?
Here I go smashing smashing 놀라지 마 That's right 이번 느낌 makes me crazy swing해도 몰라 나만일 거야 긴 게임 let me finish 실한 게 좋아 이번 느낌 makes me crazy 손이 떨려와
Ad-libs.
Let me finish 다분한 나야 기다린 순간 조금
Rijin, you do not need to be going into the deeper part of your tone for this. I understand that it's softening at the sound. I can understand it like narratively. I need you to take a step back. I feel like you're talking in my ear and I don't love that. Look, we don't need to psychoanalyze me. This isn't about me. But I also love this feeling makes me crazy. This idea of, again, like being at a standstill. Nobody wins. None of us are getting anything from this. We're just going around in the same circle. We're just going back and forth. Nothing is happening. Even thinking now, like kind of metronome sound that we had in Shoot is, again, a back and forth. Just parallels, just things going on. I like to make things clear. It's like, I don't want, again, to deal with all of the noise, to deal with all of the, like, extra, to deal with all of the, like, almost performance that comes with outrage and competition and things like that. Like, even within the fandom space, like, I'm sure that ITZY has had many times where someone is, let me say that, like, my group is better than your group. And it's like, when were they competing? Because I know that there were some other girl groups that were coming out at the time, and I am sure that there were like fandom moments where they were like, let's just start a fan war, because why not? And it's, at what point was this a competition? At what point were we like playing off against each other? Even like a lot of the time, I know from like other groups that I follow, there'll be like fandom wars, and I'm like, y'all know that they're friends, right? There'll be times where like people will be like these two specific idols, and they'll be like, fans will just be going back and forth viciously with each other, and I'm like, they're literally friends with each other, have been for years, and I'm not just making that up in my own like parasocial Delulu brain. I could show you moments where they've posted stuff where they're just hanging out, and it happens even like within groups, right? Don't even make me started on that, where it's just like weird solo stands that are like, my bias is better than any of the other members and they should do their own thing or whatever. I'm like, honey, if they didn't want to be in the group, they wouldn't be like re-signing contracts and what have you. Like, it's calm down. So there's a little bit of that feeling too of like, I like to make things clear. I want to know what's actually going on. And it's even just this like idea of not knowing that you were even in competition with someone. Like, when did this start? When did it become like a competition? When even just the let me finish of let me be done with this, but also it's almost let me say my piece, right? Let me get my full thought out. Let me actually say what I mean, and don't like clip me out of context. Don't cut me off. Don't take part of what I said and then ignore the rest. Let me say what I need to say, and then maybe this will actually change, right? Maybe I can say something that actually gets to the heart of who you are, instead of this like back and forth that we keep having. The bass is great in this. Ad-libs. Vocals. Once more, the beautiful vocal there. The little like vocal run, beautiful. Oh, that's such a pretty song too. Just again, like the bass was really good in it, having the acoustic guitar, their vocals were just gorgeous. Again, like being able to just get a really clear sound of like their tones, and a very like genuine, I feel like, delivery. Because for all of me being like, I love throughout the previous songs of us getting a bunch of character with their voices, of them playing around with a bunch of different things, and I love like the attitude and character that ITZY always brings to like the performance of these different songs and like concepts and stuff. It's also really nice to just hear them like sing a song, and it's very like genuine, and it's very like within the natural tone of their voice. I guess it's also like why I really appreciate these moments, because it's like very clearly the like natural tone of how they sing, and it's just like getting a really clear distinction between their voices and getting to hear it. It's just really lovely, and I like the overall like concept of this, right? If I'm like interpreting correctly, of this idea of being stuck in a game that you didn't like, or a competition that you didn't even feel like you agreed to, or like you aren't really sure you want to be part of anymore, right? Like even if you did agree at some point, you're like, I don't want to do this because we're just stuck, right? Neither of us is going to make the decisive move, right? Neither of us is going to score anything. Like even the let me finish of I want to be done, right? I want to be finished with whatever this is and move on to something else. I can't just keep doing the same thing back and forth, literally. And like people like watching it, right? Like almost like spectators of people watching me go back and forth, but the same thing for some kind of entertainment, right? Because a lot of the time that's like what sports is. It's a form of entertainment. I don't want to do that for someone to just enjoy it from the sidelines and watch me. I want to try something new. I want to break out of being stuck in this place. And I think that's also a really fun like theme, metaphor, whatever. They've had a lot of fun with that on this album. I feel like there's a lot of playing around with like specific images and themes, and just like layering all the different ways that you can kind of play with that really well on top of each other. Overall, a really like fun album, lots of different things that they're playing around with in it, which again I expect from an ITZY album, but I also feel like they managed to surprise me, which again expect from an ITZY album. It's just, it's a little bit baffling that they continue to do it, right? Like it's great, love it. It's just like, how do you keep finding like ways to, I don't know, go against what I expected or trip me up a little bit? But I love it. As someone who just thrives on being able to pick apart any kind of like piece of media thrown my way, I'm always down to be like, sure, let's just do something weird and see what happens. And I love that they just stick with that, right? All the way from like the basic concept of the group. I love that they're continuing to do that, showing off a lot of different again, characters and like attitudes of their voices, tones of their voices, being able to really lean into the performance of it, right? Like I feel like we can talk about performance in terms of choreography when it comes to K-pop and even just like live vocals or whatever. Like we can talk about performance from all of that, sets, costumes, right? Like the showmanship that comes along with like why we love K-pop. But also I think there's something to be said for how do you put a bunch of like narrative character into the way that you're performing something, right? If I can get a bunch of performance just from hearing you, right? When your whole like main instrument that you use is like your voice. I really like that we got a bunch of that on this album. And even without seeing some of the performances that there are for these songs, I feel like I can get the vibe of what their delivery is going to be in terms of like facial expressions or like body language, just from like the way that they said the different like words and cadences and like the way that they played around with the different textures and like tones of their voices and stuff. Favorite song though, I feel like I can't count the single, so I can't count like Mafia in the Morning because I feel like that's not fair, because clearly that was chosen for a reason. I got to see the whole like visual of everything. I don't know, I might have to be basic and say Shoot, because I feel like I shouldn't be able to choose that one either because it was so viral, but I feel like I love the performance in it. I love the one synth that's I feel like super iconic. The moment that it started playing, I was like, I know what this is. And like the bass in that one, I think that I really love that one. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite song from this album is, because I always like having conversations with you guys. But I hope you enjoyed listening to that along with me. You can click this playlist to go to my previous reactions, or you can subscribe to Mystic Time. I post an ITZY reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.